Falcons are actually relieved that he's kind of not there to create more of a distraction. Look, I mean, I said it the day it happened. It was one of the stupider decisions I've ever seen by a professional NFL franchise to sign a quarterback to a $180 million contract and then draft his replacement exactly 5 weeks later. This was a terrible organizational decision by the Falcons. Now, they're going to spin this, and this is what's annoying about the Falcons and their PR staff. They're going to spin this as if this is the plan we had all along. This is the plan that when, Kirk Cousins either got hurt or didn't play well or got too old, we were going to have Penix come in. And guess what? The new plan is now we're going to keep Kirk Cousins as a backup. So if Michael Penix gets hurt, we told you so. We were right for keeping him on the roster. We were smart for keeping him here. No, this whole thing has been an abject disaster.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Steelers' interest in Aaron Rodgers as a joke. Your boy went off about the entire situation and why it taken so long to forget him. Terry Bradshaw getting involved.
Yeah, and saying basically, what are you bringing him in for 1 year? All of this drama for 1 year at this guy, where he is now in his career is he's washed.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome in. This is FST. My name is Matt Stryker. His name is Joe Pisapia, and this is the place for those that want to dominate, whether it be season-long fantasy, DFS, straight-up wagering, whatever it is, we've got you covered. Want to give a tip of the cap to TD Jake behind the glass, and welcome to the family, Preston Polished on the ones and twos. Folks, it's his first time here on this show with us. Ooh, it's going to be a fun ride. At SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV, those are our social media handles. Make sure you're following along and shoot Preston a message because I think actually we don't know that we are in for something with him. Joey P, come on in. We think we've got Preston by the you-know-whats, but little do we know he's the man in control. Whenever the image moves, it's his hand. So, geez. What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm in a great mood. The Mets and the Mets and Frankie Montas beat Carlos Rodon yesterday. It's almost hard to say it because physically it just sounds so weird. See, I almost even said Carlos Rodon beat the Mets. No. Somehow the Mets have won these first two games for the Yankees, and the complete and utter disdain, the sense of loss that the Yankee fans that we work with here at the network have had in the last 24 hours, it's palpable. It's incredible. I'm really enjoying it. As a Mets fan, typically we're always living in the dregs of things. So it's nice to have nice things once in a while. And I got to spend some quality time yesterday with Joe Ranieri watching that game here on the network in-game live, which is a great show. We'll be back again this afternoon as well to take you through all of the day in baseball and all the day in sports. But yeah, I'm just enjoying this moment here where, Max Fried takes the mound today. Probably not going to get that W. So winning this series here on this holiday weekend, I had 2 whole days off. I feel refreshed. I feel renewed. Matthew Stryker, how do you feel coming off this happy July 4th, huh?
Stryker, how do I feel? I feel with my hands, and I'm going to get to it right now because it's really all about winning and taking that energy and applying it here. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, right? It's smarter on SportsGrid. Joe, you are the author of the Fantasy Black Book. It is available now for the upcoming NFL season, but we're talking baseball here, and we're going to apply a very unique mindset. So let's dive into some of the headlines here. You mentioned the Mets and the Yankees. Joe, if you didn't know, is a big Met fan. So he's always looking at what the Atlanta Braves are doing. currently in the last 10 games are not doing very well. And a particular name going to the IL is not going to help things, Joe. Let's start there.
No, this is the nail in the coffin, Matthew. That's what this is. Spencer
Fair enough.
Schwallenbach going to the IL. You have already with a rib cage issue, Chris Sale gone to the IL. He went to the 60-day too, so you know you're not going to get him back till mid to late August. The slow start to the year for Spencer Strider. AJ Smith-Shawver goes bye-bye. So Spencer Schwallenbach had a great season. 110 innings, 108 strikeouts here, a 3.17 ERA. He's been terrific for them. Just 18 walks. But and this is why I would say that, a few weeks ago, I was saying, if the Braves rattle off some victories here, the schedule in July really works out for them before the All-Star break. They've got some real cookie matchups. They could sneak back in this thing and become a wild card team and be very dangerous in a short period of time in a series. Now, I don't think that's possible. I think you look at the standings, you look at where they are, and the Braves are a team that is not used to this. I'm trying to remember the last time the Braves were sellers at the deadline, and I don't know if I can remember such a time. Pre-Chipper Jones? I don't know. I mean, it's been a while, Matthew, since you have not had the Braves be relevant in a pennant race. So I feel like the Braves are still looking ahead to next year, going to be a team that competes. So what are the pieces that they have that might be interesting to other teams? Does a Grant Holmes become interesting, right? Who's pitched extremely well this year. He's got well over 100 strikeouts this season. He can pitch out of the bullpen if you want him to. He would be a valuable asset. Next year, you're going to go back with Sale and Strider and hopefully Schwallenbach healthy. Schwallenbach might pitch again later this year, but by the time Sale comes back and Schwallenbach comes back, I don't think the Braves can stay relevant with what they have left. So you got to make those hard decisions. Do they move on from a Michael Harris? Is he really not part of their equation going forward? He has not been the player they were hoping he would be. So there's a lot of questions here with the Braves, and a guy like Profar, who would theoretically be an interesting trade chip for somebody else, he can't play in the playoffs because of the 80-game suspension. So I don't see him getting dealt. So they're kind of in a weird spot here, and I don't see them moving their stars. The one change I do think you're going to see this offseason, I think a manager. I don't think there's been a good relationship between Acuna and the manager for quite some time. I think you will see a different voice there in Atlanta after this season. Fair or not, you will see some changes, and I think most of them are going to be with the coaching staff.
At the back end of that bullpen is still Raisel Iglesias, if I'm not mistaken. That's a name that would probably be one that teams would become knocking for. All right, let's keep the talk in the National League, keep the talk with pitching, because as we turn these calendar days, if you're streaming pitching in a season-long fantasy league, I understand it, but it's going to get dicey here. But for the Dodgers, there is a return coming, and I think this is going to start to show us the personality and the landscape of the National League for the rest of the summer. Who is it and what's up?
Yeah, Tyler Glasnow working his way back in on the rehab start. The velocity's been good. It's been sitting around 98, so that's what you take away right now. Some of the results have been mixed, I guess, is the best way to put it so far, but nobody really cares about the 8 innings he's pitched and what it looks like. If he's got an 8 ERA, it doesn't matter. All we're looking for is health and velocity here and getting back on track. And the hope is that he's rejoining this rotation with the Dodgers next week. That would be huge to get one start in before the All-Star break. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you consider what the Dodgers have been throwing out there and that they've thrown out more starting pitchers than any other team in Major League Baseball. That says something right now, and a little bit of a desperation here for those Dodgers. Blake Snell, not that much further behind him. After the break, you're expecting him to come back maybe a week or two after. So we're getting closer here to this rotation looking a lot more like it was supposed to look like. And by that time, by August 1st, you would think that Shohei Ohtani's up to speed. You've got Yamamoto, you've got Glasnow, you've got Snell, you've got Kershaw. That's the Dodger rotation you need for August and September, because once you have all 5 of those guys in there healthy and working, theoretically, that is one of the best rotations in baseball, if not the best. Healthy is the caveat here, so working their way back. Also working his way back, I thought he'd be in rehab forever, I got to say. This guy, unbelievable. Brandon Woodruff has spent more time at rehab than Matthew Stryker has spent at the dispensary this week. That's how much time we have had this guy at rehab. A long time. And I will tell you this. I'm happy to see Brandon Woodruff back. As somebody, maybe I should have joined you there, because I've been very tense waiting for Brandon Woodruff to return. And it was one thing after another, after another. And now we finally get Woodruff back. So the question is, are you starting him today? Are you throwing him to the Wolves? Or are you giving him the let's see start before you start activating him all over the place?
Well, that's the great question, especially from a wagering standpoint. How many outs is he going to have in him? I mean, if you're the Brewers, and we've talked about it, I think they're a surging team, and there's definitely money in them to make the postseason, to be successful down the stretch. But for today in isolation, that start coming off of the IL, you wonder in your mind, is it 4 1/3 if he's cruising? If he sees some trouble, is it let's get you out of here right away? So that's a dicey wager. From a streaming standpoint as well, it depends on what you need here for this day. But it's a great question. And overall, as you mentioned, with the Dodgers staff coming into more of who they are and teams beginning to show you who they are as we turn the corner here, you mentioned Clayton Kershaw, and he hit a milestone, and we can talk about it. But I think it's also important to talk about as a bettor, how do I start to bet and stream pitchers from now till, say, the trade deadline, Joe?
That is going to be a very tricky question, because right now you're in a spot where, if you saw yesterday, would you have like 8 openers yesterday, right? These guys in the bullpen. The Twins rotation has fallen apart at the seams. You've got openers everywhere on every team. You saw the Cubs game had it. You saw the Mets are going to have it today. Davinsky's going to open for them. So streaming starting pitchers is tough right now. And the good news is you are getting some of these guys back. The bad news is, you're still wondering, is your team still relevant at this point? And every time we get a pitcher back, it seems like we lose another one. So if you have pitching this year, you're a bit of good drafter / good luck has kind of been bestowed upon you. But it does speak to the theory we talked about in draft season, which is building a staff of a lot of arms instead of spending enormous draft capital on 1 or 2 big arms. You need a full rotation because of health, because of issues that are going to pop up. When we come back, we're going to continue on here with Fantasy Sports Today. Don't go anywhere. We're going to help you win when we come back on SportsGrid.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. My name's Matt Stryker. His name's Joe Pisapia, and this is the place if you want to dominate. Now, we ended the last segment talking about the importance of pitching. we begin this segment with the injury report, and we begin with a pitcher because, again, as a wagerer, as a season-long player, and for those that are still playing DFS out there, God bless you if you're still playing it because you're leaving money on the table if you don't, and I'm with you. But finding the right pitcher can really make the difference. Joe, I've talked about this with George Kurtz, and I've talked about it with you. Most people just kind of wake up and say, all right, who are the White Sox playing? Who's Colorado playing? Who's Miami playing? Tomorrow, Miami went on this run the last 10 games, but that's just how people would wager. That's how people would stream, but there's more to it than that. If you watch this show, Joe, it seems like it was almost 6 weeks ago, you started to worry about the Cubs and what their pitching might look like and their hitting. And now here, Jameson Taillon on the IL with a right calf strain. What's ahead for the Cubbies? How can we bet the Cubs?
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? Because I've talked a lot about this, which is when the Cubs bat slow down and the pitching staff has to carry this team, what does it look like? And I have severe concerns still about what that looks like. Jameson Taillon hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but it more just compounds the issues of what's going on in that rotation, right? Because you had Justin Steele out for the year at the beginning, Shota Imanaga on the show for quite a while. And let's be honest, Shota Imanaga, we pointed out last week on the show, his expected ERA is a 1.5 higher. His strikeout rate's down. His walk rate is up. There's a lot of red flags there. Cade Horton has been admirable. Colin Ray has been better than you thought. And look, Matthew Boyd has been pretty good. But what I don't understand is, we're looking here at the Cubs and thinking that's going to be enough to get us by. I don't think so. I think the Cubs are going to be forced to make a deal for an Edward Cabrera or make a deal for another starting pitcher somewhere else. Where that pitcher's coming from, that's going to be dicey. It's not going to come from within the division of Mitch Keller. Probably unlikely that kind of a deal gets struck, but they are going to have to get some sort of depth for this rotation. But I don't know if depth makes them a scary team in the playoffs. I think the Cubs, if they should get there, are not nearly as terrifying as a team like the Brewers. They can throw out a Brandon Woodruff, a Freddie Peralta, a Mizorowski in 3 starts. Like that's a lot. Even though Mizorowski might be limited by the time we see that. However, I look at the Cubs and I say, this is not enough what you have in the rotation, because as good as Matthew Boyd has been, is Matthew Boyd going to be a guy that crosses 175, 180 innings this year? I don't think that's a good look for you if you're the Cubs trying to win a World Series. So they need more depth. They need more, I think, top-end pitching, so to speak. But, Matt, where do you think they might be able to get that?
See, that's a great question. And oftentimes now with the new playoff format, you have astutely mentioned that there are teams that are out of it, but aren't statistically out of it. I'm looking at a team like the Angels. While they're within striking distance of a wild card, guys like Jose Soriano and Kenley Jansen would really fit nicely on some of these teams out here. And you also made a good point about how if the bats of the Cubs fail, I mean, for how long can Seiya Suzuki be this RBI machine? I mean, PCA, that's a polarizing conversation, but right, the personality and identity of this team is what we have to think about as we wager into the summer. All right, Joe is a big Met fan. We talked about it before the break, talked about how important pitching is. Joe, help is on the way, dear. We often quote a great film. Kodai Senga, what are your thoughts?
Well, thoughts are that he is returning hopefully next weekend against the Royals. That's the plan. So is Sean Manaea. So those are 2 huge additions here to this Mets pitching staff, and it couldn't come at a better time. You had the McGill injury, you had the Canning injury, you had the Blackburn injury. None of these guys can stay healthy right now, and Kodai Senga looking to get back on track here. Now, he did have a rehab start in Double-A. He went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 4 runs, 3 earned, but he got up to 68 pitches. That's important. He had 4 strikeouts, just 2 walks. So if he's at 70 pitches, I would be surprised if they made him take another rehab start. My guess is they will take the 80-plus pitches, 85, and just try to get those innings at the major league level and those pitches at the major league level next week against the Royals, especially because we are coming up against the break here. So you're going to get to give the bullpen a rest anyway. So I'd rather take 5 innings of Kodai Senga than try to patch something together here with the bullpen. I don't think that's a good idea. They're going to have to do that today. Do you want to do that twice in a week span? Probably not. So I do think you're going to see Sean Manaea back. You're going to see Kodai Senga back. Probably my guess would be Friday and Saturday. Maybe Friday and Sunday, with Manaea being the guy on Sunday. So we shall see. It's good news for the Mets rotation, that's for sure. Now the question is, do the Mets think that's enough, right? If you have Peterson, Senga, Manaea, Do you want to get another pitcher? Are you worried about Clay Holmes? We're going to talk more about him in hour 2 because those innings are starting to pile up in a very quick fashion for him. He only had 63 innings the last 2 seasons there every single year. Now he's well into the 90s already. So what is that going to look like by the time we get to August and September? So big questions still ahead for the Mets. But the Mets, unlike the Cubs, have a ton of prospect capital that they can move if a big pitcher becomes available in a trade.
All right, speaking of prospects, and let's switch the conversation from pitching to hitting. If you're looking for a dynamic bat that could ignite a dynamic offense, look no further than the Cincinnati Reds. Joe, take it from there.
Yeah, Noelvi Marte is coming back, which is very important. He came back from the 10-day IL, and the Reds have been kind of an enigmatic offense all year long, right? They either score 18 runs or 1. That's kind of who they are. And it's been tough. You kind of live and die with the Reds, and the Reds pitching has been pretty good. Abbott's been terrific. Lodolo's been solid for the most part. You hope to get Hunter Green back sooner than later. This is now a lot of time he's missed with the same injury, maybe rush back that first time. But Marte, right now is going to hit the bottom of that order. He's going to play the base. But you saw already that Marte has that ability to still flash all those pieces that you thought, okay, this guy is a high-end prospect. He can make an impact. And you started to see that in little flicks and flashes. And I think you're going to see that even more in the second half. So he's available in your league. Pick him up if you need some help at the corners.
All right, and then we're going to close it out talking about Yankee pitching woes. We'll cut to Joe now, and he'll have a big smile on his face. Joe, take it from there.
I can't help it. I was trying to frown. I can't. Look, this is sad news. Clark Schmidt out for the year. Tommy John out for most of next year, too. A huge blow to this Yankees rotation. Luis Gil still working his way back. You're going to see Cam Schlittler. That's right. The Schlittler is going to be up next week, making a start on Tuesday or Wednesday for the Yankees. He's worth a stream. He's been terrific. Big strikeout potential there for him. So if you're looking for a spot starter before the break, Schlittler could be your guy. Again, the Yankees take another shot in their rotation. We'll be right back on FST.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt. His name is Joe. Joe, I got to ask you, you try to engage someone in conversation, you ask a question, you think you're being polite, you're engaging, you're asking something about them, and then they offer back the answer that's just like a womp, 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 and you just feel you should never have asked the question. Well, the reason I bring that up is because a lot of times people ask me, hey, Market Watch, you guys do it each and every week. Why? And when I give them the answer, you just watch their face go, oh. Because each and every week these numbers change. And I can't find anyone better than Joey P on this show to find those little incremental movements and jump right on them. And that's what we're all about here. So let's go here to Market Watch on FST. We're looking at the American League East, all right? Right now, if you look at the standings, guess who's not at the top? It's the New York Yankees. And yet they are still at a number. Joe, walk us through these numbers and talk to me. This is clear Yankee bias. Is this Aaron Judge bias? So what is this?
Well, I think it makes sense. I mean, I still like the Yankees, and I'll tell you what, this number's moved even more right now because this morning you can get it at plus money over on FanDuel. You can get plus 115
on the movement that Toronto has made.
Well, the movement that Toronto's made, but also, I think another injury to the Yankee rotation and the Clark Schmidt news that came down yesterday that he would be, I think it was a foregone conclusion that he would be done for the year. The Tommy John obviously is one that it's just another one bites the dust, right? And this is the problem too, because now there's no Clark Schmidt this year, no Clark Schmidt for most of next year, probably all of next year. Let's be honest, it's already, July. So he's probably gone all of next year. So you've got a big hole to fill in this rotation, and you've got your best pitcher coming back from Tommy John. And we've seen how that's gone recently for a lot of guys. And I think the answer is not well. Sandy Alcantara, Shane McClanahan, Shane Bieber, pretty much anyone named Shane. It's been a rough year for guys returning from Tommy John surgery for the most part. So this notion that Garrett Cole comes back and everything is just hunky-dory in April and May, I don't know if that's necessarily the way we should be approaching that. And that puts the Yankees in a really precarious situation. We've talked about guys like Mitch Keller. I don't think a guy like Sonny Gray is going to want to go to the Yankees because he had a bad experience with them in the first time around. The Yankees are kind of looking around the landscape, and I think it's very difficult for them. Look, they've got Fried, they've got Rodon. Despite his struggles yesterday, Rodon has pitched really well for the Yankees. They could use that third guy, kind of like the NWO. You just need that third man somewhere in there to show up for this rotation. I would take the Yankees here at this plus money. As fun as Toronto has been, Chris Bassett has not pitched well. I'm not impressed with Scherzer since his return, to be honest, and I don't have a lot of hopes for him. Gossman has been a little bit of a yo-yo up and down. And as much as I love the Rays, am I going to buy into the fact that the Rays are going to make some moves? No, because the management never does. God forbid they take some of this prospect capital just once and bring in some real help. Could you imagine if they went out and brought in a Josh Naylor into this lineup? Right? He's only a rental. How much is it going to cost me to get Josh Naylor in this lineup? Stick him at DH. All of a sudden, you got Naylor, Caminero, and Aranda in the middle of that order with all that pitching they've got. Hey, you got a shot here if you're the Rays. The American League is so mediocre this year. You got the Tigers beating up on a terrible Central. You got the Yankees who sometimes can't get out of their own way, who are just kind of still the favorites by default in a lot of people's books. And mine, why not the Rays? And this is why I said in 2020 when we were together, Matt, I said I'm picking the Rays to go to the World Series this year because this will be the first time they don't have to compete with all the other teams making moves at deadlines because they never do that and someone always passes them because someone's willing to make those moves and the Rays never are. They don't want to take on money. They don't want to move their draft capital or their prospect capital. They don't want to do any of that stuff. And what happens? The Rays get passed by. And they're going to get passed by again this year because I just don't think they're going to do that, which sucks because you got a 21-year-old superstar in Junior Caminero, and you've got Pepio and Boz, and you've got these guys in this rotation that are pretty damn good. I just, at the end of the day, I think it's still the Yankees, which is, again, an opportunity for you to bet them at plus money.
All right, Joe is on a rant here, so I'll let him take us into the break with that conversation. Talk to me about these teams to make the playoffs. I'll give you 5 teams here. The Angels, Texas, the Giants, and the St. Louis Cardinals, all in plus money. The Giants are at even money. Talk us to the break.
Yeah, look, I know the Angels have been a fun story. I think there's 2 teams that you look here and you think are realistic. I think the Giants at plus 100, very realistic because of the way Ray and Webb have pitched this year. And the Texas Rangers, now that Eovaldi's healthy again, if you can get Tyler Mahle back at some point, he's been so good, and those veteran bats, I think the Rangers are plus 250 and the Giants are plus 100. Those are the two that are worth wagering on because of what they have in that rotation. And Jacob deGrom has been so good. We're going to talk more about him when we get deeper into the stats. But before we do, we're going to take a look back at some of the best draft values. Now that we're almost 100 games into the season, who has really won us some leagues? We'll tell you when we come back.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Stryker and Joe Pisapia with you here. And Joe, a lot of times people in this day and age throw around words very loosely, but I was taught that words have meaning. And when you think of the word value, what do you think of if I tell you the value? The value of this $20 bill is only the value in which the rest of the world tells me is the value of this $20 bill. What's value mean to you?
Well, a value is what you can get for that $20 bill, right? And I think when you're talking about fantasy sports, you're talking about how much can I get out of this draft pick? The elite guys at the top, you want to make sure they return that elite draft capital, right? Whether it's NFL or MLB, it doesn't matter, same thing. And then once you get deeper into the draft, you're looking for guys who can return that value at a greater rate than what the investment is. And there were a bunch of guys that we were in on going into the season. I wanted to check in on some of our favorite values and see how they've done, because they've done pretty well. All the guys we're going to talk about in this next segment, Matt, are outside of the top 150 in ADP. And I think all of them have already made significant contributions where you could say you've gotten your money's worth out of these players. There's been some injuries, there's been some hiccups, but the return on investment has far outweighed the actual investment that you've made in them. And I think that's what we're going to look at here with these next few guys.
All right, and just to educate, anything outside of pick 150, what round would that be for someone that's new to the game?
Well, somewhere, depending if you're a 10-team league, you're talking about
Right.
the 15th
12
round. If, a 12-team league, right. 12-team league, a little bit shorter than that. So, you're somewhere in that 13, 15 round range where we're starting here. And that's where people start to shut down a little bit. And that's really where the draft begins.
Okay, so now let's talk about some of these names and imagine in our minds you're sitting in the 13th round and kid from Houston comes up and he kind of had, I think maybe a sophomore slump, had a rookie of the year. I'm not so certain. What do I want to do here? It's Jeremy Pena. Tell me, was that the right move?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Pena, I know, is on the IL right now, but he has been terrific this year. He's hitting 322 on the season. So he's giving you batting average, and that's coming off of 2 consecutive years hitting in the 260 range. So a huge boon in batting average. Will that batting average come back down to earth a little bit in the second half? Probably. But still, 322 in an era where you can't find batting average in the 150 something range, you'll take it. He's got 11 homers. He's also got 15 stolen bases. He's on pace to shatter last year's 20. That should easily go past there. He's at 102 hits on the season, too, in just 82 games played. Just want to throw that out there. So the 11 home runs, the 15 steals with the 320 batting average, I mean, that's a pretty good return on a player at the 150 range, especially when you consider shortstop, too. And he's one of the major reasons, along with Cam Smith and Altuve, that they've been able to stay where they have. The Houston Astros somehow at the top of this division by a lot without Yordan Alvarez and without Christian Walker doing anything for the first 2.5 months of the season. I mean anything. So it's been the pitching, it's been Jeremy Pena, it's been Cam Smith, and it's been a really good year so far for the Houston Astros.
End of season projection from Joe Pisapia. Jeremy Pena, 200 hits and 25 home runs, yes or no?
No, not going to get to either of them, but I'm not going to get to 200 hits because the IL stint is probably good. You got to play every day to get to 200 hits, but 25 home runs, not out of the question if he goes on a little bit of a power surge, but it would have to be a little bit of a surge. I think he's more like a 20 guy, but look, he's going to be a 20-20 player, and that's amazing value at 150. We consider 20-20 players the guys who go in the top 5 rounds.
Yep. And my dog just came in here and shook her head at what you're saying up and down. She's a big fan of SportsGrid. Everybody's a big fan. And why not? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and I have the smartest puppies in town. All right. If you picked Nathan Eovaldi somewhere around 171, would that be smart?
It would have been very smart. And I know he just returned from injury too, but his 77 innings so far this year have been immaculate. 80 strikeouts, just 13 walks. He's got an ERA of 1.75 and a .85 whip. Last year, 170 innings. He was masterful. He had a 3.8 ERA, a 1.11 whip, and a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And that's what I'm saying is I understand he's a little older. He's 35 years old. That's kind of suppresses ADP. But you have to take into account what you've seen is that he has been a really good return on investment. And he has once again showed you he is a front-end fantasy starter, but going almost at a 200 overall ADP. He's been an outstanding, dare I say, fantasy ace when he was on the mound this year. I know the recent injury stint has been, a hiccup, but we're back on track now that he's healthy, and the Rangers desperately need him to stay in this. So Eovaldi's been an incredible win for your rotation late in draft season.
All right, let's switch our attention now to the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the most rabid and intense fan bases I've ever experienced in all of my life. With the 218th pick, I chose Jesus Luzardo. Talk to me.
Well, we talked about this a lot, which was in March, right? And in early April, we said, look, Jesus Luzardo's a pitcher that if it goes wrong, you could drop him, right? And you're not making any sort of, concessions. But if it goes right and goes well, it's going to be fantastic. Now, for the first couple months of the season, it's been brilliant. Now, overall, you're still looking at a guy who's giving you 115 strikeouts on the year. But because of some recent blow-up starts, his ERA has ballooned from the low 3s to the mid 4s and a 1.47 whip. And if you watch this show, we told you, we said, when you look at those splits, he's given up, a 300 plus batting average against to right-handed hitters. That's not a good sign. That means something's going to give here eventually. And wouldn't you know it, the next week is when he started to have those blow-up starts. And we started looking a little bit deeper into that. We said, this is the reason why. Now, can he get back on track? Sure. But eventually Aaron Nola does come back into this rotation. Eventually Painter does too. You've gotten your return on investment already in Luzardo with the 100 plus strikeouts, because that is just a huge win for you. But now you have to look at it and say, okay, do I trust Jesus Luzardo the rest of the season? And this is where it becomes difficult. If you're a fantasy manager, you feel like the smartest person in the room because it took Luzardo with a post 200 ADP pick, and he was a fantasy ace for the first 2+ months of the season. Now things have gotten a little rocky. So now you have to make those hard decisions and say, do I want to bet on him continuing and bouncing back, or do I want to get rid of him now and flip him for something else? I think this is the time to try to flip him. I don't like the way some of the trajectories have gone. My confidence level is shaking a little bit. And when you consider, Matt, how many pitching injuries we've had, right? We talked about Schwellenbach and Schmidt and all these guys just in today's show. There's some team that needs a pitcher, and Luzardo, you want to take that shot on a guy, you might be desperate enough to do that. I think now is a time that you can shop him, and the market's still pretty good. So you've gotten a really good couple months out of Luzardo. He's returned his investment. Now let him return it again via trade.
Right. The longer you hold on, it loses its value. Sound advice from Joe. All right, some other sound advice, and I think it's prevailing throughout the quote-unquote industry, is how and when to draft for saves, if at all, versus chasing saves and streaming saves. But if with the 213th pick overall, I said, you know what, Carlos Estevez, Kansas City, I think they're going to be okay. Would that have been a good move?
Yeah, it would have been a great move. Look, it's funny. You and I talk about it being the prevailing wisdom to wait on closers, but it's really not. You see a lot of people, especially in these expert leagues, where they're going for, some of these elite closers early, or even worse, overspending for the mid-range guys. To me, that's the death. You want to spend an early pick on Josh Hader, cool. But, think about it. If you spent an early pick on Devin Williams this year, how's that worked out? Right? So that's been very tricky. So I'd much rather just wait. And Estevez is a perfect example, right? A guy that people weren't even sure if he was going to be the closer, and I said, well, they signed him. Kansas City doesn't like to spend a lot of money. When they spend money on a player, you should pay attention to it. He's got a 2.19 ERA on the season. He's got a 1.08 whip. He's been terrific for them. He's given up just 9 earned runs in 37 innings. And he was free. Aroldis Chapman went undrafted in some leagues too. And Chapman's another guy too, who's been fantastic for the Boston Red Sox, ADP of 261 on the year. And this doesn't even begin to talk about the guys off the waiver wire that we've picked up who have given us some saves. We're going to talk more in hour 2 about another guy who's out there for the White Sox who can help you. So if you're looking at, the 1.29 ERA of Chapman and the 51 strikeouts, the 10 walks, and all the saves he's got this year, it's pretty good. Is it that far off from a guy that you took in the 5th or 6th round to be your number one closer, quote unquote? Learn the lesson. Don't spend on saves. You can always find them on the waiver wire, and this proves it. We come back, more FST. We're right back after this.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you're betting $50 a pop, doesn't matter. But if you want to bet $2 or $3 grand each side and literally have plus 110 on both sides, not the worst way to make some money on a Sunday night.
Not at all, right? I mean, and that's amazing. I've never really watched this in real time where you see these odds fluctuate with penalty kicks going on.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt Stryker. His name's Joe Pisapia, part of just a great group of folks here at SportsGrid, just helping you win. Joe, you and I have talked about this often. I know at least every single person I know has at least one type of streaming or revolving service, some type of account. It hits their card every month. If you love sports, if you love baseball, why not throw a little something on something that you know, a total base play, a home run prop. You can pay that monthly bill with your passion, and that's why it's smarter on SportsGrid, I think. Joe, right now it's time for By the Numbers, where we're going to look deep into some numbers here and some players and try to figure out a way that we can just find that. I'm not looking for that one big one to pay off the house. I'm just looking for something to help ease the burden of my Netflix, my Spotify, my other ones I won't mention. If everyone subscribes to something at $9.99 a month, $7.99 a month, that adds up. So if you know someone's going to do something, it helps. Talk to me about a particular Seattle Mariner pitcher and his tendencies.
Look, Brian Wu has been terrific and efficient. And we always talk about this, right? The pitchers who don't walk guys put themselves in good positions to win. You can give up some hits, right? But when you kind of self-impose the danger, that's when bad things happen. And a lot of pitchers, I think, could learn from Brian Wu. And Brian Wu is somebody that, might not be throwing the ball 100 miles an hour, but he is somebody that knows how to pitch. And Brian Wu has gone at least 6 innings with 2 or fewer walks in all of his first 16 starts in 2025. That ties Clayton Kershaw from 2016 for the longest streak to begin a season by a pitcher under the age of 30. So this young man last year had a really good part of a season. And the hope was, can he drag that over into 2025? Can he build on that? And the answer has been yes. So George Kirby spent some time on the IL. Logan Gilbert spent some time on the IL. And then there's Brian Wu, who's been the stalwart in this rotation. And the fact that he goes out there and he's not going to put extra guys on base. He's going to get the job done. He's going to give you a quality start. I mean, that's just been huge for the Seattle Mariners and huge for fantasy managers as well. So it's just kind of a little pop here for the lost art form of pitching. When last we left you, we talked about Chase Burns on the show last weekend. I said, hey, incredible live arm. He's going to be a very exciting pitcher to watch, but he's more of a thrower than a pitcher. And I tried to point out all those reasons in that first start against the Yankees why I thought that. And then that next outing, he didn't get out of the first inning. And that shocked a lot of people except for me. And I think the Brian Wu is the kind of pitcher where you're looking at and you're saying, okay, here's a guy that understands the art of pitching, how to move the ball in the strike zone, how to find outs in the lineup, and how not to hurt yourself, right? This max velo world that we live in, sometimes we get a little bit too enamored of, and it's pitchers like Brian Wu. And I don't know if the Mariners are going to fall out of things here. I mean, they're kind of struggling there a little bit to stay at pace with the Astros as everybody is in that division. But Brian Wu is just, like I just said, I want to give him some love. I want to shout him out here a little bit because I don't think people realize how good he has been. And if you're talking about, trying to bet first fives, right? When Brian Wu is on the field, guess what? The Mariners are going to be in that first 5, and it's going to be a lot of unders and a lot of good situations for them in the first 5 innings of the game.
Great stuff, Joe. Pencil that down, folks. I'm old school. Just make a note of what Joe just said there. The first 5s, even the first 3s. We're just trying to make just a little to ease our burdens, if you will. All right, let's talk about now getting ahead in the count. We talk all about how the metrics have changed the approach in baseball. Joe, you and I played a ton of Little League and travel youth ball and things like that. Getting ahead in the count, this is very important as a pitcher. And right now there are currently 3 pitchers today. This generation needs a hero. 3 pitchers today that are doing precisely that, getting ahead in a count. You got a great stat that goes all the way back to the ancient times of 1988. My gosh.
Yes, 1988 when Oral Hershiser was throwing scoreless consecutive innings. And what else was going on in 1988? Let's see. We were watching Family Matters and Full House on the television, I believe, probably, right? You're home on Friday nights as a kid. That's what you were watching. Cut it out. All right, let's get to this stat here, which is a fun one. So starting pitchers with the lowest batting average against after an 0-1 count. So getting that first pitch strike, it matters still. And look at these names. Really interesting. Yuri Perez, 129 batting average against when he gets that first pitch strike. Kodai Senga. You want to know what the secret sauce is for Kodai Senga this season? This is it. A 155 batting average, right? When he gets ahead of guys. Getting ahead, first pitch strikes, attacking the zone. Shohei Ohtani, he does the same thing. Now, the guy to point out here is Yuri Perez, because that's probably not the name you would guess you would see in this grouping. But understand this, Yuri Perez still working his way back from Tommy John. I think last week was the first start we saw him where we went, oh, okay, the velocity's been there, but the feel for pitching, that's what comes back last. That's what Sandy Alcantara has struggled with, unfortunately, as well this year. So Yuri Perez, 6'8", big kid, before the Tommy John looked like one of the best pitchers in baseball. He is an asset right now that I'd be acquiring for the second half in redraft leagues if I could. I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. He's just a boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher. And when you're in this kind of grouping already, I think it speaks to just how special he is. So now's the time in any long-term situation or even redraft to be buying on Yuri Perez.
Joe, quick answer. Best landing spot, if any, for Yuri Perez come this trade deadline?
Oh, they're not moving him.
Okay. It would be Cabrera, it would be Alcantara, before it would be Perez.
For you to get Yuri Perez, you would have to give them it would have to be one of those top guys, like those top prospects in baseball kind of moves. And look, there's one team that can do that, right? Like it's the New York Mets can do it. They can field an entire team for the Marlins, if you think about it. You can give him Ronnie Mauricio, you can give him Brett Beatty, you can give him Mark Vientos. There's your infield for the next 10 years if you want to make that trade. I just don't think that's going to happen.
All right, we'll talk about it here, and then on the other side of the break, we'll pick it up. The Dodgers have two names here. One is Shohei Ohtani. Take us to the break on that stat.
Yeah, it's another week, another Shohei Ohtani stat. In each of his last 5 years, he's got 30 home runs, 10 or more stolen bases, 5 or more triples. No one in Major League history has done that in more than 3 consecutive seasons. And speaking of the number 3, only 3 lefties have reached 3,000 strikeouts now, on top of Clayton Kershaw making 4, Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and CC Sabathia. How about that? We'll be back with a deep dive after this.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you're betting $50 a pop, doesn't matter. But if you want to bet $2 or $3 grand each side and literally have plus 110 on both sides, not the worst way to make some money on a Sunday night.
Not at all, right? I mean, and that's amazing. I've never really watched this in real time where you see these odds fluctuate with penalty kicks going on.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports. Today, Matt Stryker and Joe Pisapia with you here. And Joe, before the break, you had given a great stat with regards to Clayton Kershaw being the fourth left-handed pitcher to achieve the 3,000 strikeouts, the others being Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and CC Sabathia. And it just got me to thinking, you were talking about Yuri Perez's height, Yuri Perez being 6'8", Randy Johnson, notoriously tall, CC Sabathia tall. I looked it up, Steve Carlton was 6'4". I really think that has something to do with, and we did with the extension of, I believe it was Jacob Mizorowski last week.
Yeah.
If you start to see these taller, longer pitchers and the metrics fall into line, we could have found a precursor to some success. It's just something that I just want to bring up. It's not really a point for conversation because we're going to take a deep dive into Jacob deGrom, and I'm going to look up his height. And I'm thinking that he probably fits into this as well, but I'll let you take it from here. Joe, you there? All right. Joe has been mesmerized by the height talk, and now Joe is back. He has risen to the height. All right, Joe, what do you got?
The heightism, I was offended. That's what happened. But Jacob deGrom is 6'4", for those of you who are wondering. So there you go. So he fits the mold. And look, I will take the L here. You know, we like to take the victory laps here. It's fun, but sometimes we got to take the L's. And I was not in on Jacob deGrom this year. Too many years where he hasn't been relevant. And I don't want to say good. I want to say relevant, because I think that's the bigger word to use here in this scenario. It's been 2019 since Jacob deGrom really was anything close to Jacob deGrom. That's a long time ago. And now it's 2025. And I am very happy that he has been so good. Over 100 innings this year, 17 starts. He's 9-2. He's got a 2.13 ERA and 0.89 whip, 100 strikeouts, just 21 walks. That is relevant. That is incredible. That is ace-like stuff. He is on pace this year, Matt, for 30 starts, 184 innings, 182 strikeouts, 38 walks. So here's my question to you. That's what it looks like for 30 starts. Do you see that 184 innings, 30 starts here for Jacob deGrom? Do you think everything just keeps rolling here for him? Because he's not showing any signs of breaking down right now. And I'm just curious, do you think he maintains the pace and hits it? Because if he does, Jacob deGrom is winning a lot of people, a lot of leagues.
Okay, as a DIY homeowner, and I have been for a while, I've always said things are supposed to work. And when you fix them correctly, they should work. And when you take care of them, they should give you longevity. Jacob deGrom has been broken. Hopefully he is fixed, and he should work. You paid a lot of money for that hot water heater. You paid a lot of money for the sprinkler system. It should work. So yes, I believe in the quality of the manufacturing that is Jacob deGrom. As a wagerer, there has to be a careful way to do this. And I return serve here to you. You had mentioned that the worst thing a team like the Rangers could do is stay in it into the trade deadline, because you can see a reunion of Jacob deGrom and the New York Mets.
Well, again, if you're the Rangers, you look at this roster that you've won a World Series with a couple years ago. You have a lot of age in the wrong direction with a lot of big contracts. Marcus Semien, right? Corey Seager. Everyone forgets, right, that at the time we all looked at those and went, wow, they really overpaid for these guys. It worked. They overpaid for Jacob deGrom. Guess what? They're still paying money to Max Scherzer. Guess what? You start peeling back the layers of the onion of the Texas Rangers payroll, and it starts to get a little smelly. It's like, I don't know if I like where this is going. And Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter haven't really solidified themselves as the next guys. So Jacob deGrom has a lot left on this contract. Do you buy this if you are the Rangers? Or do you look at this and say, is this our opportunity here to unburden ourselves from this deGrom contract, which could be burdensome as you're looking ahead when you've got, coming up not that far from now in 2027, you've got another collective bargaining agreement, right? There's going to be probably missed games again. So there's a lot of questions here. I don't think this is going to happen to the Rangers, but if there's one pitcher who's a difference maker, and I just think the reunion is so easy for him to come back there because he never wanted to leave in the first place, but the Mets couldn't make that investment, and I don't blame them. Again, 2019, it's a long time. But one stat that did stick out to me here with deGrom is that he's allowed 6 hits and 2 runs or less in each of his last 14 starts. That's the longest streak by a traditional starter in Major League Baseball modern era. So he has been Jacob deGrom again. And that version is one of the best pitchers in baseball. And considering the injuries we've had to so many of these guys and the lack of performance we've expected from some others, Jacob deGrom is that one crown jewel that if the Rangers fall out of it, could bring back a whole slew of players and change that organization. We'll be right back with more FST.